Welcome to Phoenix Rising with Dr. Z. This podcast is all about conversations about healing and rising from the ashes of your grief and trauma. I'm your host, Dr. Christina Zampitella. It is my sincere hope that this podcast is going to give you the words and the understanding to help you heal through your grief and trauma.
No one likes to be vulnerable. We're all sort of control freaks to larger or lesser measures. That's just kind of stamped on the human being as they come into the world. And so grief, in my observation, gives us this challenge, but incredible opportunity to occupy. What is this part of me that's so scared of hanging out in vulnerability for 30 seconds, maybe a couple minutes, then maybe I can extend it to, wow, I've been in it for 5 or 10. What is the nature of that? Because my sense is that's where the healing impulse comes. It doesn't feel cozy or comfortable to drop in initially. It's a bit like, I'll share with you an image I had the other day.
Yeah.
When I first learned to scuba dive many years ago, it's weird. You put this thing on and you had some training and you jump over. But when you go down 10 or 20 feet, you are breathing underwater.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. Into like a nervous system. And it takes a while of like presence and the coach, the dive instructor there, because you're wanting to go up to the surface. And it takes a while to sort of go, I can breathe underwater. The surface is 5 feet away. I have a tank. And so something about that image and being in the ocean or under the ocean of grief is similar. We're learning to breathe in a way that we never have before, and we're not trained to. But it is doable with practice. Yeah, it's a powerful image, right? We're underwater, we
I
can't
think
breathe.
it's the title of a book, Breathing Underwater.
Right.
I mean, no, think about it. Like, that's brilliant. You came up with a brilliant, like, say that's a great analogy. Well,
Yeah.
so here's a question for you, because the most popular of my reels on TikTok is on prolonged grief disorder, right? And some people, and there's a whole, people go back and forth, and there's a lot of interaction, and I jump in there. Like, I do try to respond almost to everybody if I can. And some people are like, you can't pathologize grief. And I'm like, I agree. Let's not pathologize grief. Like, no, I'm right there with you. But when I have a person and it's been 10 years and she won't come out of her child's room after her child died, and she's lost her job and she's lost her, family, and she's not bathing, and she can't really think of much else other than her child. I'm sorry,
Mm.
but that's not grief that has made its natural adaptive process where it's
Right.
become integrated into their topic or
Right.
their narratives. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how that one's had like almost 200,000 views.
Wow.
Um, and so when I think about this turning towards the grief, which is can feel threatening, but is so important, because if you don't turn towards it and you're with it and it's your companion, if even briefly, like you said, if maybe even for a moment, for 1 minute, what happens for people who are swallowed by their grief right now? And it's just the rumination and the searching behaviors and the separation anxiety. And so it is taking up so much of their bandwidth. Hard question, right?
Well, yeah. There's no short, sort of pithy one-liner for
No,
that.
not at all. Not at all. But I
It's
was thinking about that before we met today. And I'm like, like, yeah, I wonder what he'd say. So,
yeah.
Gyani, it's all you.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
I mean, the image that I have when you describe that is someone who has so self-abandoned, right?
Mm.
Someone who has so left themselves that there's not even a shred of, oh, this is me, amidst an ocean of pain and suffering. But and what I imagine is that sort of, this isn't a parallel perfect healing universe.
Mhm.
Someone like that being able to come into a room of 10 or 20 people who are completely there for them, who love them. Right, we're talking sort of old style indigenous rituals here, and ritual, and even modern rituals that can get constructed this way.
Hmm.
But what I'm thinking of is sort of the weight of love and forgiveness that would need to be surrounding this person for them to begin to just poke their head up out of that incredibly painful place to see that there's a new possibility, just as an image, right? How that gets constructed in a therapeutic or counseling environment, wow, that's a huge topic and one that I don't think you and I are going to figure out in the here and now. But the
Right.
image I have is an incredible weight of self-abandonment and how much counterweight of love and forgiveness and mercy needs to shine on that person to begin to have some micro opening that they can peek out just a little, just a teeny bit to see that maybe there's a new way to be with this.
Hmm.
Mm.
And I do want to jump in that ritual thing. I mean, I think I told you my dissertation was on ritual, so as much I want to jump in there. Uh, one of the things that I've run into, I don't know if, well, yeah, I'm sure you have, individuals who often have been unable to find themselves again, right? To reconstruct their identity in whatever way that means. Now that this person has been lost, or this thing has been lost, a marriage has been lost, etc. Um, you need people around you who know what to do with that. And again, we're in a society that I don't know that people know how to necessarily do that, since I mean, it's just not passed down, right? So, yes, having a grief, like a professional who they can turn to, who can provide that environment and say, I see you, but I'm also aware here that I, maybe the grief is what you feel like is connecting you to the person. So the grieving process itself, it's like if I relinquish my attachment to the grieving process, it must mean I'm relinquishing my attachment to the person that I've lost. When there's other ways of remaining connected in these continued bonds in really, really healthy ways, right? And through, you can do that through ritual, and you can do that through, other ways of doing that. So yeah, you want people to be able to peek their heads out into safe spaces. And sometimes finding those places are really hard for some people. I think this is when grief groups are great, are just fantastic, is being able to be in a room full of other people who are able to say, yeah, I see you too. And they may not have other people that are seeing them, you know? So I don't know. Just,
Yeah. Yeah, the group space is very powerful.
it is. So
It's
how,
very
oh, go ahead.
no,
I was just going to say, how does one, say I've never ever heard of the concept of mindfulness. I always thought it was meditation. I always thought it was, the Dalai Lama sitting there, and other monks sitting there. I got to shave my head, the whole 9 yards. But the everyday person, like sometimes they'll say, when you're in the shower, just take a moment and smell the shampoo. Like these little moments. So how would you introduce this concept of in being aware, becoming aware, and learning how to grow that, like you said, that muscle to somebody who maybe has never been introduced to that concept before?
yeah, yeah. I think the entry is in little micro steps.
Okay.
I think everybody would have 5 minutes a day, although I know most people say we don't even have that, but I think every human probably has 5 minutes a day. And you could start with 5 minutes a day, finding a quiet place, closing your eyes or letting the gaze soften. And maybe for the first time in your life, simply devoting 100% of your energy and your attention to what is occurring in these 5 minutes. I'll set an egg timer. Just so I know I can get out of here quickly. I'll set 5 minutes and simply notice what is occurring. And probably first and foremost, it'll be this storm of mind
Mm.
stuff. And if the first 5 minutes you can make it through, then maybe set it to 10 and try. And but the point is we're wanting to sort of dose ourselves into mindfulness in the same way that we can dose ourselves into the ocean of grief in the same way.
Mm.
And everyone can do this. And for most folks, my experience is it's very uncomfortable. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's very uncomfortable to sit with just you. And no shame, no blame. It's just most of us haven't had practice or training to do that. So we don't really know what to encounter. We're not really sure who's in there,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
But little by little, you begin to see that that being is approachable. They're like all the other beings. It's just one of us. I can be with my thoughts. I can be with this heartache for 5 minutes, bare, just naked heartache. I can be with that. And then I need to move again. Then I need
Mm-hmm.
to go wash some vegetables and but so I would start with like little pieces like that. And what happens over time is the formal practice, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, begins to bleed over into like the rest of your life. You're driving or you're shopping or what. And in the same way that you can be present to your body, your heart, your mind when you're just sitting, that same energy, it wants to arise. It can't wait to arise. And it's like, hey, let me out of here. Would you be present to me? This isn't some secretly hidden, shrouded, never to be discovered human energy. This is what wants to come forward. And so it begins in little bits to sort of trickle through oh, well, I had that moment where it, and it does start that way. But it's sort of like anything else. It's starting. It's like going to the gym for the first week. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, no, I'm going to be so sore. I cannot do this. You will be sore. You can do it. And then the same way with mindfulness, you can begin in these
Yeah.
little baby steps.
I think there's also there you're not going to consistently do it. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this every single day, because I know there earlier in my life, if I didn't stick it, with it, and I wasn't consistent with it, then sometimes I just kind of and go off and do some other thing, whatever that is, mindfulness or playing my guitar. But I still, now I've learned, I'm just going to pick up the guitar again. I'm just going to do it again. And I will say, so something I started about, you're going to laugh at this because I have an exact amount. Days. 158 days ago. I know it sounds weird, but
Oh,
158 days ago, I started using my Insight Timer, which is a app, like a mindfulness app. You can do all kinds of things with it, but it has Yoga Nidra in it. And Yoga Nidra is something I was introduced to when I went to it's called Kripalu. It's up in Massachusetts. It's about,
yep.
yeah,
Famous Institute.
oh
Yep.
my God, oh my God.
Yep.
That,
Yep.
I'm not even kidding. That place changed my life. And my therapist is the one that's like, you need to go to Kripalu. I'm like, I can't. I've got client. I didn't even finish my sentence. She was like, you have to go, because I was
Wow.
so burnt out and such a mess, right? And I'm so glad that I did. Well, that's where I was introduced to Yoga Nidra. And then I decided I really liked that instructor. So I decided I was going to get trained in learning how to do yoga nidra, which I did. It was fantastic. But then I was like, wait a minute. So I started doing it at night before I was going to bed. I just turned the thing on. It's like the very last thing I do before I go to sleep now. And I've noticed, interestingly enough, like yoga, and I'm without getting all up into yoga nidra, it's not yoga, you guys. It's a mindfulness based practice, but you're not
Yeah.
in yoga in the way that people think that you're all tied up into twisty pretzels. It's not a if you're not physically moving anywhere. This is a mindful practice. But anyway, so I've been doing that 158 days. And what I've noticed since then is I tend to fall asleep in the middle of it, and most people do, and that's fine. But and it took a little bit for it to kind of take hold. I'm less physiologically reactive to things. So like if I'm gonna like before, when I felt like I was gonna slap the snot out of my husband for him doing something like leaving the dishes. I mean, I'm kidding, but serious. Well, okay, maybe kind of serious, but not really. Things that I would have maybe been a little bit more reactive to. My body doesn't have that response. And when my body doesn't have the physiological response to it, my brain doesn't either. And I have this opportunity to go, okay, well, how do I want to handle this right now? And I've been noticing it more and more the more time that's going by. And it's even in times of like great stress or loss, like even like I had my bone marrow biopsy on Wednesday. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I just have to sit with the fact that I don't know. And I'm not comfortable with that. And it's not, I feel it in my body, but I'm like, before I would have been so tied up that I think I probably would have even like canceled my sessions because I'd be so physiologically impaired and unable to be present with another
Yeah.
person. I can't even handle myself right now, much less be, there for a person who just has me there. So I've noticed this reduction in this physiological response in situations where I would feel more reactive. So I'm less reactive, I'm more reflective, and I'm noticing I'm nicer to myself. And before, like, whoo, even talk body image issues and all of the things. Like now I've gotten to the point where like, this is my body. And wow, what did I just say to myself? And like, I'm catching myself when I'm being mean to myself. I'm like, knock it off. Like, you, you've survived cancer. Tell your body thank you. Like, why don't we
Mm,
approach it a little bit differently? So
wow.
that isn't even from anything of me sitting down on my cushion and doing kind of like a sitting down meditative practice. That's I put the darn thing on my nightstand and fell asleep to it because my brain continues to hear it when I fell asleep. It's been
And is the
pretty
yoga nidra
fascinating.
practice, is that so? Is that like a taped? Is that something
Yeah,
like a recording? Okay.
it's recording, and they have like hundreds of thousands of different kinds of meditation. So ones where they can be anywhere from 1 minute to I have there's one there that's like last one I saw that was the longest I've seen was an hour,
Wow.
and everything in between, and yoga for stress, or meditations for stress, and mindfulness this, and then brown noise, pink noise, yellow noise, like all the different hertz and frequencies
Yeah.
you can use. But the yoga nidra is one, and when I have people who often struggle with sleep when they're actively really grieving or in a trauma response, sleep is one of the things that gets hit the fastest.
Yeah.
And so I'll encourage, something like that if they're not familiar. And I every single night, and I am really noticing, even though I'll fall asleep to it, I am noticing there is an absolute measurable difference I'm noticing in my life,
Wow.
interpersonally, intrapersonally, and it's a freedom. Ooh, that's the word. There's a freedom in it. Oh, that just hit me. Oh, I even felt that when I said that.
Yeah, I saw it.
There's a freedom in it. Huh. I'm going to have to sit with that. Do you hear this too? I will have many clients come in and say, I often find that the time that I grieve so openly and the most is when I'm in my car. Do you get that?
Hmm.
Does that happen? Do people say that to you?
Yeah, I think it's the sort of modern culture bubble, grief bubble place. If there's no one in it, I can just let it go in my car and feel safe and like that.
I think it's also because they're not surrounded by all the things they have to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So not enough distractions. And then sometimes songs, people will talk about songs, which music's the language of the soul. So if they don't have that vocabulary to express what they're thinking, or maybe the music is something they had in common with the person that they had, or whatever it is stirring them up, that music is a physiological response.
Mm.
I mean, even babies dance. It's
Yeah,
physiological. I hope they probably wiggle like that, but whatever. But even babies dance. Music was the first way that we communicated
yeah, yeah.
as a species. I'm going on like stream of consciousness right now.
I love stream of consciousness. Yeah. I mean, your your
All these things.
your reference about the car,
Yeah.
um, it's so true, just for the reasons you mentioned, which is we're alone and we have nothing to do.
Hmm.
How many other moments in our daily life can we actually characterize our life like that? Not
Hmm.
many. We're typically not alone, and or there's a lot of stuff to do. So my takeaway from that observation is that the natural grief response wants to arise
Mm.
when we're alone or we're in the company of someone who can allow us to feel our aloneness, and there's nothing to do. Those are the sort of components that invite the natural grief response to come forward. And then throw on a favorite song. It's over. Game
Oh
over. I
yeah,
mean,
it's ever game
you know,
over. Yeah.
it's happening.
Yeah. I've
Um,
actually said to my like well, I'm not going to say I haven't like gone, why'd you just pull out in front of me or whatever. But my husband will kind of get his own panties in a bunch when we're driving sometimes. I'm like, Jeff, at any given period of time, about 60% of people are like actively grieving something. You have no idea what's happening. That person could have just lost her husband. You have no idea what's happening. Like a little bit of grace. And that works about 50% of the time for him.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But
yeah,
these moments of trying to realize that we are a collective in many ways, we've lost that in this individualistic society, but we are a collective. I think we need to remember that a little bit better.
100%. 100%. The other thing as I think about it, mm, one of the additional values of a mindful orientation, which I think is critical to those of us on the grief path, is that as you were describing your moment of feeling a newfound freedom, like
Hmm.
there's more space around something that previously did
Mm.
not have space. And my experience of a mindful orientation can be that it helps us um, feel into when we need to be together and when we need to be alone. And this is a critical rhythm. This is another one of these respirational rhythms in grief, like alone time and then connecting time. And again, it's one of these sort of essential life rhythms that most of us just haven't had much practice with. I mean, we know it on a very sort of superficial level. Yeah, it's time to go out. Let's go see a movie or go to a party. But if you take the elevator down a few levels, there's other sort of octaves of the human heart that when we begin to listen to it, sometimes it really is the most healing thing for me to be deeply alone in my grief, to just really sit in that place that's so full of everything, grief and gratitude and darkness and flickers of light, just that whole ineffable ocean that grief can be. Other times, what's most healing is I need to be with people. It could be one
Hmm.
other or a few others, but I need to be in the company of a tribe. And this is back
Hmm.
to your comment about our culture is becoming less and less tribal and more individual.
Hmm.
And grief to me feels like, well, it could be such a tribal community phenomena. Not all the time, but for those times when we need to come into the community circle and see others who, like us, are traveling their grief path and allow myself to be seen by them. Something incredibly powerful happens in that. And my observation is what happens almost cellularly is that we get to feel we're always doing it alone, but we're doing it together. We're doing it alone in the company of other grieving beings. And that's another sort of rhythm that I think a mindful orientation helps people begin to distinguish. Where do I need to connect and where do I need to just be alone with this and let the grief healing happen?
Mm.
Yeah.
What are some things that people will feel in their bodies that are an indicator they are dropping down into themselves?
Mm. Well, there often can be a warming of the chest. It can be temperature, like heat, warmth. It can be um, vibration, sort of humming. Um, Not to get too esoteric, but the body does register these things. The body can feel these calibrations of presence. We can certainly feel our belly open and relax. There's a whole meditation called soft belly meditation, sort of begun by this guy named Stephen Levine, who was an early grief pioneer with Kubler-Ross. And he has a whole meditation that like 25, like 45-minute soft belly meditation. It's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic because we sort of forget that, oh, our bellies hold so much of the armor.
Mm-hmm.
Heart, belly.
I think shoulders too. Like if I notice like tightness in my throat, which for me, I'll start going down the chakra system, so I won't go there. But
Yeah,
the tightening of the throat, of just that, just feeling like the grief is stuck right there, just so a
yeah,
little bit of a relaxation in the throat. I've noticed that as well.
yeah.
The belly part is important because people are starting to realize oh, your gut is your second brain. Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of truth to that in multiple ways, not just nutritional ways, but energetically. You can feel your belly just soften,
Hmm.
you know. Yeah, I agree.
It's often helpful
Agree.
to let people to guide people just a 5 minute sort of we start at the top
Mm-hmm.
and just allow them to sort of drop, 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 drop. And at each point, where's the holding? Can they breathe a little relaxation into it? Where's the whole? And just in sometimes 5 minutes or so, people will, oh, I didn't know my left collarbone or my right shoulder or
Mm-hmm.
my left abdomen, right? Just a very brief body scan can begin to, allow the exhale to drop and some more space to happen. Yeah.
You said something important there real quickly. You notice it, maybe, well, my shoulder is a little tight or whatever. And then you real quick said, breathe into it. But let's talk about that. What do you mean breathe into that? I mean, we're talking about like, hey, let's start from the beginning here. What do you mean by breathe into it? And what do you do with it when you do breathe into it?
Yeah. My first observation is that whether people have done practices like this or not, we all have the capacity. These are not things that can only be discovered by Tibetan yogis, like a 5 minute body scan. These are very available, very simple human practices. But to your point about breathing into I feel like the breath, and obviously the breath in traditional yogic and healing cultures is really such a pivotal component of healing. It's really that phenomena that connects us, and that I think often how miraculous. This is just a side note, but important that we never have to tell ourselves to breathe, right? I mean, when you just take a moment, we're actually being breathed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful sort of image and metaphor to remind ourselves that there's clearly something larger at work here that we can use and we can tap into. But to your point about how to specifically use breath visualization, we can, if it's a tight thought storm, we can visualize whatever works. A wind Imagine the wind coming in and blowing the leaves of thoughts. That you can get creative. You could do all sorts of creative ways of using wind and breath to help people um, relax and open tight spots of their body, of their heart. The, there's a heart breath meditation that is really beautiful. That many decades ago, are you aware that he's not with us anymore? But does the teacher Ram Dass, is his name
Oh
ring?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, be here now.
him.
Him.
So many years ago, he came up with a short meditation of actually imagining that our heart has nostrils and helping people just in a 5 or 10 minute grief meditation. Imagine their heart has nostrils. And this takes the whole conversation away from what happened, what didn't happen, what's the constructs. We're just going to breathe. We're just going to allow our heart to breathe in and out as though our heart had nostrils. And it's this wonderfully direct, intimate way of just allowing breath to enter our tender heart
Mm,
and to allow this sacred organ without story, without sharing, without concepts, with nothing. We're just letting the breath come in and out. And that alone sometimes is so activating. It's so because it bypasses all of this for one thing. So we take the mental component out. We just drop right into the heart. It's a teaching unto itself. It's a whole
mhm.
meditation unto itself that can be very evocative,
Yeah.
very evocative.
Literally that's going through my head, and then I'm going, okay, the next time I present, we're going to start out with our heart with nostrils. Like that's going to happen. I'm doing a retreat in May in Southern California. I'm giving a retreat, and that will be part of the retreat. I love that. There's a person that I'm working with who has a really long history of trauma, and she allows me to use her cases like a case study, like she, very generously so, but I do change things around. But nonetheless, every time I work with her, her trauma has been so deep that there are times where I have to, first of all, I have to slow her down because she'll just go and her whole system will go into, okay, let me just talk about all the things. And I'll be like, whoa, 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 stop, stop. We're going to stop there. Scan your body right now, top to bottom. We've talked about how to do that. What feels off? What is not in your natural relaxed state? Oh, my stomach is hurting. What's your stomach saying right now? What's it telling you, right? So, and one of the things I've noticed is she'll get flooded. And so I'll bring her back, from being flooded by slowing her down, giving her some time to breathe and whatever. But at the end of every single session, I take a good, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes and take her through like a whole, well, I'd like to say it's a progressive relaxation, but it really isn't. It's just the noticing. It's the part of the yoga nidra.
Yeah.
Notice your thumb, notice your first finger, notice your second finger, notice your third, and just
Mm.
noticing the different parts. And every time we're done, and this is somebody who is learning this stuff for the first time, she ends and she just goes, "Thank you so much." And then, like the last time we met, she goes, "I'm starting to do this on my own when I'm not in
Wow.
session." And I am like, it makes, because my job is to get fired eventually, right? Like, I really thought that one out when I took out my student loans. Let's get a job where you want to get fired and they graduate. The hell was I thinking? Um, so anything that people do to internalize whatever's working for them, it just makes me so happy to see that for her and to see that feeling because
Mm.
that's not easy. Trauma is like a whole nother level. There's always grief and trauma, but there's not always trauma in grief.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself to turn into trauma is, there's a whole nother layer of physiological danger that comes in that makes you feel like that emotional memory, like when you have certain things happen, it's like as if it's happening right then and there. and
Yeah.
teaching your body how to be mindful about it and being able to acknowledge and go, oh, wait a minute, this isn't happening right now.
Yeah.
To get that part of your brain back on track so that you can slow down and not get re-traumatized over and over and over again,
Yeah.
is so powerful. And I think without a doubt, I know that in certain practices, like if you think about like internal family systems and Janina Fisher, and if mindfulness is a huge component of all of that, of
Yeah.
doing trauma work, so that it can get to a place where they're not feeling so, they're not so activated that they end up having a sense of agency when maybe in that trauma they had none.
Yeah.
And in that they
Yeah.
have, there's some healing even just in that, right? Just learning that
Yes.
they can relax their body because they're actually not in that place any longer. This is their body and they can feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't specifically work with trauma, but I would imagine that as you say, that's sort of an additional layer, an additional sort of
Yeah.
set of something to work with and to be aware of. But it certainly makes
Mm.
sense, this whole idea of sort of dosing, um, just little bits, right? Turning. I have an image that keeps coming, so I just have to say it now.
Yeah. Say it.
Um, the Persian poet Rumi had a beautiful, um, maybe I mentioned this last time, I can't remember, but
I
I'll
mentioned it
say it
again. It
again.
wasn't on here, so that's what's important.
And what Rumi said was, the wound is where the light enters.
Mm.
And when I hear that, one way of seeing that is I imagine me or someone sitting and you're next to a wound of some type, or it could be next to a cliff or next to a river. But whatever it is, you are not in it, you're just next to it. You're close enough to it that you can feel it. You know it's vibrating you, but you're not over the cliff, you're not sitting in the wound. And this idea that we're sort of referencing here about helping people in increments of maybe less than 1%, but micro increments of now, can you turn just a little towards it? We're not even getting, we're still 3 or 4 feet away and turning and then back. And
Mm-hmm.
now and just this idea of how to begin to breathe. I know this word comes up a lot, but breathing space into places that are um, fused, that are somehow collapsed through conditioning, through trauma, through grief,
Mm-hmm.
and beginning to breathe some space in there. And just this image of sitting next to a wound that we can sit next to, we can feel safe next to, but not, but then the work begins as we begin to turn and lean because the wound is where the light enters. And it just seems like a whole sort of piece of work there around that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, there's that it allows you to not have to embody it fully. Like you can still feel your body reacting to it, but it's not like it's owning you.
Yeah.
That it becomes, you know, more part of what you're navigating. Oh, that's beautiful. I could sit here and talk to you for, I mean, honestly, for hours. Like now, I just want to go into ritual. So what we're going to do is schedule another one so we can talk about ritual because I don't know anybody else that'll jump into the deep waters of that and like why it's so important and how powerful it can be. So, but before like first of all, just thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed going into this topic with you, and I it's interesting after we talked last time. I was like, I wonder if we'll be able to get into, some other things that we didn't cover. Well, clearly that was not an issue. So just thank you so much for
Thank you
taking
so
the
much.
time. I
It's
love this. This is great.
yeah,
Is
thank
there
you for
anything else? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, just I have immense gratitude for this conversation in particular and just for the work in general that you're doing. Uh I feel I feel grief work is sacred work.
Yeah.
It is it's soul work. And so
Yeah,
however we find that tributary.
well, I'm so glad you're part of that as well. I mean, how
Mm.
it takes a different kind of person to be a therapist who dives into these waters. And but this universal human condition really needs to be held. And I'm just glad that you're there, holding
Mm,
that. So thank you for that. Is there
mm.
anything you think people would like to hear or know about you, or anything before we end today?
I can be found at my website, ourgriefpath.com, www.ourgriefpath.com.
Okay.
And apart from the Rumi quote, the wound is where the light enters, I hold the grief path as grief is not a problem to be solved, but a sacred opportunity to be embraced.
Mm, what a nice thing to end. I don't even want to say anything past that. That's just fantastic. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching or for listening. If you have any questions or comments and you're in a place where you can write that, go ahead and, write that into the notes under here, if it's on YouTube or TikTok or wherever. I do go in there. I do always respond to them as best as I can. If there's anything here that resonated with you that you want to know more about, or maybe you're questioning a little bit more and you want to know more about it, I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and write that in there. So thank you for watching or for listening. And in the meantime, please remember that it takes courage to awaken the power to heal. Thank you so much. So thank you, Gyani.
Thank you, Christina.
Thanks for listening to Phoenix Rising with Dr. Z. If this episode helped, subscribe and share it with someone who needs it. We'll see you next time.